In a quiet French village, ordinary life is shattered when armed soldiers suddenly storm into the streets and round up every man they can find. Fear spreads like wildfire as husbands, fathers, and sons are dragged into the center of the village, while their wives desperately beg for mercy. No one is given an explanation. When one brave man protests, he is executed on the spot, sending shockwaves through the crowd and silencing any further resistance. The soldiers then march the captured men away into an uncertain fate. Among the devastated villagers is Rose, whose fiancé lies dead before her eyes. As night falls, the remaining women and children gather together, clinging to one another for comfort while wondering whether the men have been imprisoned, killed, or perhaps might somehow return one day. The next morning, the village remains trapped beneath a cloud of grief. Violet notices that Rose has completely withdrawn from the world, refusing even to leave her room. Wanting to comfort her, Violet brings food and quietly embraces the broken young woman. Later, an elderly villager notices that Violet herself seems changed by recent events and tries to encourage her. Suddenly, gunshots echo through the countryside, instantly filling everyone with panic. Fearing the worst, the women rush to check on one another. Violet frantically searches for Rose and eventually finds her standing alone in an open field, dressed in white, silently watching her wedding clothes burn in the flames. The heartbreaking sight makes Violet realize how deeply the village is unraveling. Convinced that staying may destroy them all, she decides that night to leave the village behind. Under the cover of darkness, Violet sets out alone through the forest, hoping to escape toward a better future. By morning she reaches a bridge, only to discover soldiers patrolling the route ahead. Terrified of being captured, she hides and waits, but soon realizes there is no safe path forward. Defeated and frightened, she turns back and returns to her village. The emotional weight of her failed escape overwhelms her, and she collapses into her mother's arms. Life must continue despite the uncertainty, and the women begin focusing on survival. Together they inspect the fields and decide the crops are ready for harvest. With no men left to help them, the women and children shoulder the burden alone, preparing themselves for the difficult work ahead. The harvest begins under the exhausting summer heat. Every villager works from sunrise until exhaustion forces them to rest. During a quiet moment, Violet wonders aloud what will happen if the men never return. Her question hangs heavily in the air because no one has an answer. Soon afterward, the church bell begins ringing repeatedly, and the woman pulling the rope is overcome with uncontrollable grief. As seasons slowly pass, summer gives way to winter. Violet spends time with her younger brother, teaching him lessons their father once taught her. She proudly explains that her father educated her and that she is one of the few women in the village who can read and write. Though the village struggles to survive, she refuses to let knowledge and hope disappear along with the missing men. Months pass with little change. Rose continues mourning the man she lost, often speaking about the memories she cannot escape. Then one day, while the women are gathering apples, something unexpected happens. A stranger appears on a nearby hillside. None of the women recognize him, and his presence immediately raises suspicion. At first they assume he is simply passing through, but he remains there watching. Anxiety spreads through the group until finally the man approaches. Introducing himself as Peter, a blacksmith who claims to have lost his way, he politely asks for shelter for the night. The women exchange uncertain glances. Trust has become a luxury since the soldiers arrived. After receiving approval from the village elder, Violet cautiously agrees to help him, though fear still follows her every step. As Violet guides Peter into the village, she remains alert and nervous, uncertain whether the stranger is a threat or a friend. Yet Peter behaves respectfully and speaks with kindness, gradually easing her fears. He explains that he has traveled through forests and fields for much of his life and offers to help with work around the village. Once home, Violet prepares a place for him to sleep and brings him food and water. Peter is grateful and asks whether any animals need new horseshoes, eager to contribute something useful. Before leaving, Violet suggests that if he truly wants to help, he can join the women in harvesting crops the following day. Later that night, curiosity spreads through the village as everyone wonders who Peter really is and what secrets he might be carrying. The women discuss Peter endlessly. Some are intrigued, while others remain deeply suspicious. Violet's mother encourages her to spend time learning more about him, but the village elder warns that strangers can never be trusted completely. That evening, Violet helps prepare Peter's dinner. Her younger brother insists that Peter seems harmless, but doubt still lingers. When Violet later enters Peter's room, she finds him asleep. While placing the food nearby, she notices part of a gun hidden inside his bag. The discovery immediately raises questions about his past, yet she chooses not to confront him. Instead, she quietly leaves. The next morning, Peter joins everyone in the fields, working hard beside the women and proving himself useful. Slowly, the atmosphere in the village begins to change. With Peter's help, the harvest progresses much faster than before. His presence seems to awaken something long forgotten among the villagers. The women begin dressing more carefully and carrying themselves differently. For the first time in months, laughter returns to shared meals. Peter openly praises the strength and determination of the women, admiring how they have survived without the men. Most appreciate his words, but Violet's mother remains skeptical and reminds him that compliments are not enough. Tension briefly fills the air before Peter quietly returns to work. Later, Rose teases Violet, suggesting that Peter may have feelings for her. Violet cannot hide her smile. Deep inside, she realizes she has started imagining a future that includes him, despite all the uncertainty surrounding his arrival. As the days pass, Violet and Peter spend more time together. One afternoon, she finds him reading a book, and the discovery immediately fascinates her because literacy is rare in the village. Their conversations become deeper and more personal. When Violet asks about his past, Peter offers only vague answers, revealing little about where he came from or why he travels alone. His secrecy creates mystery, but it does not stop their growing connection. Peter shares reading material with her, and the two bond over stories and ideas that few others around them understand. For Peter, Violet stands apart from everyone else. He sees intelligence, curiosity, and maturity in her. Their friendship slowly transforms into something far more meaningful as mutual trust begins replacing suspicion. As the days pass, Violet and Peter spend more time together. One afternoon, she finds him reading a book, and the discovery immediately fascinates her because literacy is rare in the village. Their conversations become deeper and more personal. When Violet asks about his past, Peter offers only vague answers, revealing little about where he came from or why he travels alone. His secrecy creates mystery, but it does not stop their growing connection. Peter shares reading material with her, and the two bond over stories and ideas that few others around them understand. For Peter, Violet stands apart from everyone else. He sees intelligence, curiosity, and maturity in her. Their friendship slowly transforms into something far more meaningful as mutual trust begins replacing suspicion. One afternoon, while Violet reads aloud to Peter, the tension between them finally reaches its breaking point. Their feelings, carefully hidden for weeks, rise to the surface. What begins as a quiet moment soon becomes an intimate expression of the affection they have both been struggling to contain. By the next morning, Violet returns home transformed by the experience. Looking at her reflection, she feels as though she is seeing a different person. Rose notices the change immediately and is delighted that Violet has finally found love. The relationship quickly becomes impossible to hide. Peter and Violet continue working side by side in the fields, sharing smiles and private moments. For the first time since the village tragedy began, Violet feels genuine happiness. Peter and Violet stop hiding their relationship and openly spend time together. During a peaceful evening, Peter reads poetry and speaks about life, desire, ambition, and the importance of simplicity. His words reveal a thoughtful side that only deepens Violet's affection. However, their happiness soon creates tension among the other women. Many of them have spent months without husbands, partners, or hope. Some begin arguing that Peter should not belong exclusively to Violet. Their frustration grows into open resentment, leading to a confrontation. Violet fiercely defends her relationship, refusing to share the one person who has brought joy back into her life. Yet beneath the arguments lies a painful truth. Many of the women dream of having children and fear their chance may disappear forever. The growing conflict weighs heavily on everyone. Eventually, Violet explains the situation to Peter, telling him that many women believe he could help them rebuild families and create a future for the village. Peter is disturbed by the idea of being viewed as a solution rather than a person. He begins questioning what would happen if the missing husbands ever returned. Violet insists that if they were coming back, they would have arrived by now. Yet Peter remains troubled. Later, Rose tries to comfort Violet when Peter grows distant. Searching for answers, Violet examines some of Peter's belongings and becomes increasingly convinced that he is hiding important details about his identity. The mystery surrounding him grows deeper just as their relationship faces its greatest challenge. The following day, Peter makes a shocking confession. He tells Violet that he intends to spend time with other women as well. The words hit her like a knife. Heartbroken, she leaves and later confides in Rose, admitting that despite everything she cannot stop loving him. Rose encourages her not to give up. Violet eventually reconnects with Peter and realizes that although he interacts with the other women, his feelings for her remain genuine. Even so, jealousy and uncertainty continue haunting her. That night, she experiences a frightening dream and seeks comfort from Peter. Their emotional connection pulls them together once again. Despite all the complications surrounding them, neither can completely walk away from the relationship they have built. Soon afterward, Rose confesses that she too wishes she could have a child with Peter. The revelation leaves Violet devastated. Later, Peter finally reveals part of the truth he has been hiding. He explains that he is fleeing from soldiers and living as a hunted man. If captured, he may be forced to leave the country entirely. Yet, despite the danger, he has remained in the village because of Violet. Not long after, Violet discovers that she is pregnant. The news fills her with both joy and fear. When she tells Peter, he is overjoyed and promises that if he ever leaves, he wants her by his side. For a brief moment, the future seems brighter than ever before. Hope quickly collides with reality when two men arrive from a distant camp carrying news about the missing villagers. Some men are returning home, but many never survived. Among the dead is Violet's father. The devastating announcement leaves the village in mourning once again. Peter notices suspicious looks directed toward him and realizes his own time there may be ending. Meanwhile, the women secretly discuss protecting those who have become pregnant. Violet makes it clear that if Peter leaves, she intends to go with him. That night, she begins packing her belongings, determined to follow the man she loves regardless of the risks. But fate has already chosen a different path. When Violet finally reaches Peter's home, she finds only a letter waiting for her. In it, Peter explains that he cannot predict what lies ahead. He fears being captured and refuses to place Violet and their unborn child in danger. Though leaving breaks his heart, he believes it is the only way to protect them. He promises to write whenever possible and asks her to remain in the village and raise their child. Desperate, Violet races after him at dawn, hoping to stop him before he disappears forever. But Peter is already gone. Standing alone with nothing but memories, unanswered questions, and dreams left unfinished, Violet watches her future fade into the distance as the story comes to an emotional end.